Welcome to Next Point Wins. Happy March 1st and Ash Wednesday, everyone. It's 10 a.m. Eastern here in West Lafayette, Indiana. If you are done celebrating and trying to make it home, I suggest, walk towards the bell tower, regroup, and go from there. Busy night last night. I'm sure a lot of you guys stayed out late. We're going to recap everything that happened, and if you're not aware, I am here in the basement at Purdue University in one of their dorms in the turntable room. Purdue University, host of the new Big Ten champions in men's basketball. What an exciting night it was last night. My name is Matthew Julie, and welcome to Next Point Wins, the radio show / podcast where we talk sports plus more. I'm very excited about today's show. I have a lot of fun stuff planned. I invite you to listen in if you like to hear about hoops, NFL, NHL news, Oscar coverage, sports, movies, and more. If you'd like to tweet in, you may go to my personal page, Matt_Gili, that's Gigli. That's where you'll find our poll question of the day, which is, what would you rather win, a Grammy, a Super Bowl MVP, an Oscar, or the Heisman Trophy? I'll give you my answer here in a little while. Go to my page, vote on that question. Also, if you want to email, you can email us questions here at Next Point Wins. You can go to nextptwins@gmail.com. Waiting on the poll there. Hopefully, in the next week or so, we'll be able to start taking some callers. I got some great feedback, so thank you, everyone who contacted me following last week's pilot episode show. If you listened on the radio last week, you got the full hour. If you listened on the podcast form, which you can do, you only got the first 20 minutes or so, but today should be the first time I will put up the full hour, so I'm excited to see what kind of feedback I get. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can do that on SoundCloud or YouTube. Just search Next Point Wins and subscribe to our YouTube channel or like our page on SoundCloud, and you will get the weekly update of when the podcast is posted. Today, I hopefully get it out about an hour after the end of the program. This is an hour-long sports show, and I think we should just jump right in. So I'm pretty excited. I got some new tricks to show you guys. We're going to step up our game here a little bit. Week 2, our first show winning streak, two-show winning streak. Pretty excited about that. So the streak is alive. Hopefully we can make it through this hour and maybe add to a third next week. So let's hit the scoreboard.
Scoreboard, 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 scoreboard.
All right, I'm going to be honest. That was not exactly what I had planned for. All right, before we go to the scoreboard, I gotta let you guys in on a little secret here. So I tell 3 of my friends, I'm like, okay, guys, I need some audio to play before I read off the weekly scoreboard where I give everybody the scores from around different sports. And I'm like, get a bunch of different voices and just start chanting scoreboard, mix it all together. You can throw in some music if you want, go crazy, and I'll see what you got. And I purposely only listened to it not too long ago. That way I could give you guys my honest reaction to it. So I give it to my 3 friends, and I said, go get different voices, like maybe a girl's voice or like somebody with a different pitch than you 3. So what do? They shape their voice to the best of their ability to sound like a girl. If you don't know me very well and you're not if you don't know much about me, I'm friends with a lot of engineers, so that could explain that situation. All right, to the scoreboard. Here we go. In the NCAA, it was number 16th ranked Big Ten champion Purdue University 86, Indiana 75. I'll give you guys my full recap on that game coming up shortly, both from the Purdue side and the Indiana side. I'm going to try to take off my Purdue hat. Actually, today I'm wearing complete Purdue gear, sweatshirt, and hat. I'm going to try to take that off and give you guys my honest take on both sides of the game. Also in the NCAA, it was number 15th ranked Florida State losing on the road to a good Duke team ranked 17th in the country, 75-70. So that was Duke 75-70. Number 9 Kentucky took care of business at home against Vanderbilt, 73-67. And to round out the top 25 games, it was number 24 Iowa State 86, Oklahoma State 83. That was a late game last night, a good one at that. I caught a little bit of that action once I got home after the Purdue game. Also from the NBA, it was the Warriors losing to the Wizards on the road, 108-112. So Washington gets that win. Kevin Durant goes down hurt in that game. He was forced to leave early. They're calling it a hyperextended knee. Not really sure on the timetable for that return. So that's kind of a double loss for the Warriors. And, we're still got a lot of season left, but it's starting to get crunch time. And it doesn't matter what you do if you're the Warriors in the regular season. It's all about that run to the title, and the pressure's on. Also in the NBA, it was the Denver Nuggets 125, Bulls 107, Utah Jazz 106, Oklahoma City Thunder 109. And to round out the NBA scores, Hornets 109, Lakers 104. In the NHL, it was the Washington Capitals taking care of the Rangers 4-1. The Montreal Canadiens beat the Blue Jackets, shut them out 1-0 in OT. Close game all the way to overtime. Edmonton Oilers 2, Blues 1, Wild 6, Jets 5. So Wild stay at the top of that highly contested conference. Wild, Blues, and Blackhawks all playing well at the moment. Nashville trying to sneak in there as well. Dallas Stars get the win 3-2 over the Penguins. It'll be Penguins and Blackhawks tonight. Calgary Flames 2, Kings 1. And the final NHL score of the night was the Sharks 3, Maple Leafs 1. So there's your scores from around the country. I think I'm going to keep that audio. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It was so bad. It was good, I think. Good effort. I appreciate them putting in the time for me. Don't get me wrong. We have another audio coming up here later in the show for one more segment that I'm going to throw in. That it's a segment I think is going to sweep the nation. I'm pretty excited about it. No one else is doing it. So if you want to listen to that, it's going to be right here on Next Point Wins. There's a little tease for you. All right, let's jump into what I want to talk about most. And I promised myself that I wouldn't go too long on this topic just because I know I have some people out there that don't really care about Purdue basketball, and that's fine. But I also have a strong following of students here on campus listening in, trying to make their way home from Harry's or Jake's, who want to know my thoughts on the game. And I'm going to give you guys hopefully a different perspective so the casual fan who's not really all into Purdue basketball will still be interested, as I was able to go behind the scenes through my job and see the press conferences, the celebration, the reaction, the emotion, and there's some good stuff here. So let's go for the game first. First half, it was one of those situations where I was sitting there watching, and I kept on looking up at the scoreboard. I'm like, how is Purdue only up 6? It seemed like every time they got to about 10 or 12, IU would come roaring back with 5 or 6 straight points and get it back to, like, striking distance. I mean, no one expected this IU team to come in here and just roll over. That's not the way they play. That's not – they're too athletic, and they're, frankly, too good to do that. And Tom Crean had his boys ready. They came in, played hard, but certain Purdue players seemed to step up in the big moment, one being Dakota Mathias, the Midwestern Cowboy, as we like to call him here in West Lafayette, Indiana. He came out in the first half and was just scorching the nets. At one point, he went 3 trips down the court. First trip, 3. Second trip, 3. Third trip, 2. He went on an 8-0 run by himself in the first half. He had 17 of his 19 total points in the first half. And then he basically just passed the baton over to Caleb Biggie Swanigan in the second half, who had 17 points of his 21 on the night. Now, Biggie's way of getting those points was a little different. A lot of them were at the line. And IU got in a situation where the foul trouble was killing them. Two of their top, in my opinion, their 2 top big men, Thomas Bryant and Davis, both go out with 5 fouls. And Biggie made a lot of his work late in the game against backup centers and forwards, also at the line. But he does end up with that double-double. He got the final rebound with about a minute and a half to go. Last game in Mackey, and I tell you what, say what you want about Purdue fans, they're smart. At least they're they're aware. I guess I shouldn't call them smart because I guess I don't know that for a fact, but they're aware. He got to 9 rebounds, and every time a shot went up that didn't go in from IU, the entire place was like, I could see like people starting to stand up, and like you could hear like a buzz, like, is he going to get the rebound? Like, people go crazy for a Caleb Swanigan double-double. I mean, they go nuts. I don't get it. It's awesome. It's so cool. But like, it's something that it doesn't make sense. Like, they think that's like winning the game. And I think it's a cool streak. He has had quite a few. I think 24 was last night. Yeah, it's 24th was last night. So, yeah, about a minute to have to go. IU missed a shot. Ball kind of got tipped around. Caleb grabbed it, and the place just erupted. There's about 3 times in the game where I thought the roof might come off of Mackey. It was the 3 loudest points, and it's so weird because all 3 are really different. I guess I should say 4. If you want to count that when the clock hit 0 and there was like fireworks and streamers and stuff, which scared the crap out of me. I guess 4 then. That was loud just because it was kind of artificial. I mean, it was fireworks. People were cheering and screaming and stuff, but that added a little bit to the how loud it was. But the first one was when Matthias hit the last 2-pointer on the 8-0 run I mentioned earlier. When he hit that, I mean, the place roared. And then he came down the court the next time. He got a pass, and he kind of did a shot fake, and I thought he was going to pull it from 3. He was pretty closely guarded, but I thought it was a heat check. He didn't shoot it, but if that would have went in, I'm not sure I'd be sitting here with you guys here today because, I mean, it was like my head was pounding. It was so loud. Second was when Biggie got the double-double. Place went nuts. And then the third was basically every time an Indiana big man got fouled, the place went nuts. I don't know if I'm completely up to date with the reasoning behind that. You know, since I work for Purdue, I don't really get to spend a lot of time with the paint crew. I have a couple of friends in the paint crew who try to keep me up to date on what's going on. I don't know what the deal was, but every time Davis or Bryant got called for a foul, I mean, the place went crazy, which was funny. I mean, I thought it was comical, and maybe it was just their way of, I don't know. I really don't know. But, yeah, so that was the 3 loudest moments for me. Post-game celebration, fireworks go off, confetti falls from the sky. I heard there's some couple of reports out this morning that they're trying to get the custodian, Brian Cardinal, over to Mackey, get a little cleanup in as the streamers and confetti it coated the floor. I got myself a handful of it. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. It was just one of those things where it was on the ground, and I saw like 2 other of my intern partners doing it. So I'm like, they were seniors, and that's the other thing for the seniors. What a cool moment. Whether you're on the team or just in the stands, to be able to watch them go from last in the Big Ten your freshman year to winning a Big Ten title on home floor. I mean, some people, including me, I mean, were overcome with emotion. You know, you do nothing as a fan to really make them succeed. I mean, you make Mackey loud, which helps at home. But, like, overall, you're not shooting. You're not playing defense. You're really not involved. No matter how much you want to feel like you are, you have no true say in the outcome aside from being as loud as you can and screaming your head off. So that being said, to see a team work so hard and win it, it was cool to see. So, yeah, I got some confetti. Not really sure what I'm going to do with it. Tweet me, email me, suggestions. I'd love to hear them. You guys seem to be more creative than me. I got some emails last week that I'm going to answer some of your questions. I appreciate that. Keep them coming. Even if you're listening on the podcast, if you listen later today or in the next couple days and you think of something that you want covered on the next show or you have a question, email me in. I love to talk to you. I love to hash things out. We can have a little conversation. I can email back and forth. You know, whatever you need. I'm good with that. So we'll move to the post-game celebration. So everybody was crazy, having fun. It took forever. I was in charge of recording Coach Painter after the game. And the game ended at around 9, maybe a little before 9. It was about 9. That's the other thing. The game took forever. It felt like no one could get in a rhythm. I mean, there was too many fouls to begin with. 48 fouls, 28 for IU, 20 for Purdue. That's too many. I understand it's two physical Big Ten teams, but you got to let these kids play. You got to give them a chance to get a flow, get something going. I think that would have helped IU. I mean, aside from the fact that obviously they were in foul trouble, and that was a big part, but IU is a team that they like to get out and run. They like to, I mean, look at what they did against Northwestern. They got a huge run in that game to really take care of business, and that's just the kind of team they are. Once they start seeing the ball go in, there's no stopping them. But they foul and they turn it over, and that killed the flow of the game, which I think, in honesty, was a big game changer for them. Let's see. So the game ended around 9, and they did the whole senior night thing, which was cool, honoring Spike Albrecht and John McKeenan. And then they were doing their trophy celebration. So, I mean, the Coach Painter, who usually is the first, let me try to think. No, the players are first. Coach Painter went in first, though. Normally it's the players after the game. What you get is after the game, the coach, the visiting coach, will do his press conference first because, he's trying to get on the road, get a shower, talk to the team, and get out of there. So he'll come into the press conference room, and they'll ask him questions. And then they'll say, okay, players are available outside the visiting locker room. So if you want to go interview a visiting player, that's where you have to go. And then they get out of the way. Coach Painter usually does the radio show along with a player after the game, right after the game. And then you'll see the players come in, usually 3, who are picked by the media to have in the post-game press conference, and then followed by Painter to end the conference. He'll come in after the players do. Normally the whole thing takes from end of game to end of conferences, 30 minutes, maybe 40 at max. So you have Coach Painter who comes in, and he comes in first for Purdue because the players were still kind of out on the floor celebrating. And he had some good things to say about, he was funny, he was talking about how he can't really enjoy it. He said, in this job, you don't have time to enjoy things, and when you get done, you hear coaches all the time say, well, I wish I would have enjoyed it. And Coach Painter was like, no, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's like, no, like you don't have time for that, and you can say you do, but you don't. If you're doing that, you're not doing your job. So he's already looking ahead to Northwestern, which if you're a Purdue fan, that's exactly what you want to hear from your leader. Another big game, trying to get the outright title on Sunday against Northwestern. But before Coach Painter, Coach Crean came in, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, got a little awkward. And rightfully so. I mean, no coach feels good after losing to their rival or losing any game for that matter, especially on their court, seeing the whole celebration as he's trying to get out of there. But he came in, and first question that was asked to him, and it was by a Purdue reporter. I'm not sure of the name. Not that it really matters because it's more of just the question itself. It was something along the lines of, if you what he thought about the foul situation and how the foul trouble was affecting his team, and rightfully so. I mean, coaches don't really enjoy commenting on referees or fouls because it's not something they can control. And he kind of fired back at the reporter a little bit. He was a little angry, rightfully so. Kind of said something about, and I'm paraphrasing, he doesn't coach the refs and he doesn't worry about fouls. He worries about his guys on the floor and his players. And he then apologized and said he didn't mean any disrespect. That is worth note. But it was just kind of like, it was the first press conference I personally have ever been to where I saw real emotion from a coach. I mean, normally you sit up there and you give good answers and you give insightful, honest answers, but you don't see a personality there. And he looked like a coach who just lost a big game. And that's fair. And then another question later was from an IU reporter asking, he said something along the lines of about turnovers and how that hurt him. And Crean said something about, you asked me that just about every game. And everybody's kind of like, well, yeah, like why is it every game that turnovers are such a problem? So it was another situation where it's just kind of like he was real. He was being honest about it. I thought it was nice to see. As far as his job security, I don't see him getting fired, and I am in a huge minority on this. There's quite a few reasons for that. One being you just got rid of if you're the Indiana athletic director, which I don't know his name at the moment. You just got rid of your football coach. I mean, are you going to turn over your two biggest sports at your university in the same year? You're going to turn over coaches and start over? That's hard. Tom Crean reminds me a lot of Brian Kelly from Notre Dame. Everybody at the end of the Notre Dame football season was saying, no, Brian Kelly needs to be fired. He should be fired. And I kept on saying, no, he doesn't need to be fired. Brian Kelly earned himself another year. From his success in past years, he earns a bad year and he earns one more try at it. And that's the exact same for Tom Crean. Tom Crean is a fantastic recruiter. One of the best, I think, in the nation. He's a good coach. He's not a great coach, in my opinion. He's a good coach. He's a fantastic recruiter. So if you're IU and you're IU's fan base and you're leading the Fire Crean charge, who do you want in return? Who is out there better than Tom Crean who you might have names that you want, but who can you get? And I think that Tom Crean deserves another shot at it. That being said, I have to imagine between James Blackman Jr., or Jr. as I like to call him, between Jr., Thomas Bryant, and OG, I have to imagine maybe all three go pro. Maybe you get some of them to stay. But that's your top three players, in my opinion. You're losing all three. So if you do get that extra year, that next year to try to redeem yourself, my goodness. I mean, what a tough situation that is. I don't care who you are as a coach, on what team. You lose three players like that, it's hard to come back the next year. I mean, it takes you who knows how long to find your identity. I mean, you have to reshape your entire team. So maybe it will be a good opportunity to find out what your team is made of, and what you are as a coach, what you're made of. So if I hope he gets another shot at it. I really do. I think he deserves it, no matter how much anger is in that fan base right now. And you know what? Yeah, the NCAA tournament's looking slim, but that's why they play conference tournaments. That's why you have the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. if you're Indiana, and it's do or go home, and you got to get on a run. But it's a team that, when they play to their potential, absolutely they can do it. It's very possible for an Indiana team to make a run and get that automatic bid. But, it would be a cool story. I think I honestly would. As a Purdue fan, I know it's crazy. And part of me believes this, and part of me maybe is just getting the hopes up of IU fans. But, I mean, that would be a crazy story. I don't care what team you are and what conference. To have a year like that and then go on a – that's why conference tournaments are so great. In my opinion, some of the times conference tournaments are better than the big dance as far as watching pleasure. Starting Sunday – Sunday's the first day where there's a championship game for one of the smaller conferences. I recommend everybody, like every day, go through, I'm sure ESPN's app or really any sports app and look up like, okay, who's playing for the championship today? Like from Sunday all the way to next week. And those championship games are fun. I mean, these are kids who, 90% of them are going to get smoked in the first round of the tournament, but they don't care. They're going to the big dance. Like, I win this game, I'm going to the big dance. I'm playing on TBS or TNT or are you kidding me? I mean, what player doesn't want that opportunity? So to see those kids who don't get the opportunity every year, who make a run in their conference tournament to go to the title, it's fun. These kids play hard. They play good basketball. Try to watch some Midwestern Valley Conference or the Atlantic Sun. Like, find them. I'm telling you, it's good. It's fun to watch. All right. So that's my take on Purdue and IU. The game that decided the Big Ten championship for Purdue last night. Reminder, poll question. I'm going to take a quick break here, and we'll come back with that. Also, my new segment that's sweeping the nation, or not yet, but it's going to be. I'm a firm believer in it. We're going to give my three roommates a second chance to redeem themselves on the audio. I listened to it once, so still not really sure how I feel about it. Curious to see how I feel in the moment here when I play it. But we are going to take a very short break, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to give you guys some music during that break. Hopefully you've made it home. If you got lost, hopefully my bell tower trick worked. You look for it in the sky, you see that clock, you're going, I'm walking straight towards that clock. When I get to the clock, I'm going to stand there, regroup, and then everybody knows their way home from the bell tower. It was a fun night. Hopefully everybody made it home safe. I saw some pictures and videos from different bars around campus. Things were moving, and that's what you like to see after such a big game. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. It's Next Point Wins. My name is Matthew Geely. Thank you for joining us this morning. Podcasters listening later, I'm glad you guys subscribed and tuned in. If you missed the first 30 minutes of the show, I invite you to go back and take a listen on Next Point Wins. Search it in SoundCloud, search it in YouTube. That's how you can find us. Let's take a look at the poll question. The question was, would you rather win an Oscar, Super Bowl MVP, Grammy, or Heisman Trophy? Currently, we have Super Bowl MVP in the lead, 42%. Second place, Heisman Trophy, 24%. So I guess I have a pretty strong sports audience, that's what I'd expect for a sports show, listening here today. Personally, I guess maybe it's a trick question, but okay, if you're the Super Bowl MVP, you're most likely you won the Super Bowl, so you're a Super Bowl champion as well. But like you could be a Malcolm. Well, I shouldn't say Malcolm Butler because he's a good cornerback, but you could be a wide receiver who, averages 4 or 5 catches a game, 70 yards maybe. A couple of times you score, you could just get open in the Super Bowl a couple of times, couple of TDs. You got yourself an MVP. So maybe a little bit of a trick question there. I wouldn't want to be a Super Bowl MVP. I don't know. Grammy sounds cool to me. To have a Grammy, are you kidding me? You could, that or a Heisman Trophy, just because you're on a college campus, you're the best college player in the nation. You walk around with that trophy, you're going to get in anywhere. That's the best wingman I could think of. I'm walking around with the Heisman Trophy. That's pretty cool. That's pretty baller, in my opinion. Grammy, I think, would be nice. I'm not really big on the Oscar. Best actor, that's cool. But what if you just are part of a movie that wins an Oscar? It had to be best actor or actress, depending on who's listening. All right, I'm pretty excited. Let's give this a run for its money. Here we go. It's a new segment. It's called Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
And now, an unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
All right. Well done. To the roommates listening, well done. That's fantastic. That one's sticking. Love the energy. Love the anger I heard there at the end. Something was said during their non-copyright beat they decided to use. Not really sure what it said. I'm going to have to go back. I think it said KoreanBeat.com. If so, I'm cool with that. It was a good beat. We're going to culture ourselves here on Next Point Wins. So here's the segment. It's called Unsportsmanlike Conduct. What I'm going to do each week is I'm going to find you guys scenarios or storylines that a player or a university or somebody did not show very sportsmanlike behavior. So I have 3 for you today. These are stories you might have heard of. A couple of these from over the weekend. One of them definitely more recent. So first one, Louisville women's basketball game. I believe it was on Saturday. It might have been earlier in the week, last week, but I definitely know it was. I think I saw the story Monday, so it must have been Saturday or Sunday. A student from the University of Louisville got the opportunity to make a layup, free throw, three-pointer, and half-court shot. If he made all three, he got $38,000. What does this kid do? He makes the layup, makes the free throw, makes the three-pointer, drills the half-court shot. Nails it. Kids going nuts. Crowd's going nuts. I mean, you just won $38,000. That's ridiculous. Here's where the unsportsmanlike conduct comes in. I got a personal foul on the University of Louisville. They took away the $38K from the student. There was a rule, I don't know if it was in fine print or what, that said only eligible if you haven't played high school sports within the last 6 years. So if you played high school basketball within the last 6 years, you are not qualified for the money. Well, the kid's a sophomore. He played 3 years of high school basketball, so he doesn't get the $38,000. Okay, did the kid? I have questions. Obviously, I think we all have questions, and maybe this would help clear it up. And I haven't been able to find anybody who has interviewed or found the answer to these questions. But first, did the kid know of the rule? Did he know that you had to be out of basketball for 6 years before you could compete? Did he know? Second, did he lie to do it? Because, I mean, that's fine. You don't deserve the money. If you lied and said, I didn't play, and then drill them all, like, cool, but you don't get the money. But if he didn't know, that's not cool. Like, if that's not a rule that you give a kid, why is that rule in there? Why do you want somebody who doesn't know anything about basketball to shoot the shot? I don't understand. So I'm going to give 15 yards to Louisville on sportsmanlike conduct. Number 2, minor league hockey. The kid's name is Brandon Day. And you know, this one's not very funny. This one was it's one of those things where when you see it, you kind of give out a little laugh, and then you're kind of like, wait, why did I just laugh? Like, that's not funny. He's a minor league hockey player. He plays defense for the Erie Community College. He got called for a penalty that he obviously did not like. He goes to the penalty box, and then, like, he sits there, and the play resumes, and, like, I don't know if it was at the end of his 2 minutes in the box or what, or if he came out early. It's hard to tell from the video. But he comes out onto the ice and lays out the referee. I mean, hard. He drills him. Not even trying to fake it. He comes charging out of the box straight at the ref and just clotheslines him to the ground. Ref is laying there, looks to be extremely hurt. This kid was arrested for assault. The game was stopped and canceled. They didn't even finish the game. So I think that's proper protocol for Mr. Day. We're going to give him 15 yards on that. And then last but not least, this one's kind of funny, in my opinion. Twitter beef. First off, Twitter beefs are so stupid. So dumb. Especially if you're a grown adult. Why are you on Twitter typing to somebody else, trying to start something? Well, Mr. Shaquille O'Neal, broadcaster for TNT, does NBA coverage, got into it with JaVale McGee. Hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Research here was a little spotty on this one. But those two got into it on Twitter a little bit. Shaq has been known to make fun of Mr. McGee, JaVale, who is, if you don't know who JaVale McGee is, I don't blame you. He's a backup. Well, he starts sometimes. No, he's pretty much a backup. Backup center for Golden State, the Golden State Warriors. He averages he's a big dude. He's probably close to 7 foot tall. He averages about 4 to 6 points a game. Pretty pathetic, really. Now, hasn't really found his spot yet on the Golden State team. I mean, there's only so much ball to go around, so kind of understand why he doesn't score much. But anyways, Shaq makes fun of him quite often for stuff he does on the court. And they got into a little bit back and forth on Twitter. And they said some stuff that I'm not going to repeat here on air. But they said on Twitter. And for a while, the first couple times back and forth, it was kind of funny. I thought maybe it was just a joke. But then Shaq got real. And it could have easily been taken as cyberbullying. JaVale McGee. And it was to the point where I was like, whoa, this is real. Like, these two guys are not fans of each other. Well, this is where it gets really funny. A report comes out that Shaq's mom went to Shaq and told him to knock it off, to quit it. It's like two fourth graders fighting over the Matchbox toy, and mom comes in and is like, quit it, like, stop, like, to your corner, basically. Go stand in the corner. Put your nose on the wall on this dot and don't move it, type of situation. And so Shaq does, he stops. And Mike Wilbon on Pardon the Interruption, he had a quote that I heard because they were talking about this story, and he said, and I quote, Shaq listens to his mother. It's over. That's funny. Shaq is just, I mean, can you imagine somebody as big as Shaq going over to his mom's house and his mom, like, just ripping him a new one, like, telling him to knock it off? Like, that's hilarious to me. So, yeah, so Shaq's mom, and then I guess JaVale McGee's mom kind of went to TNT and told him to fire Shaq. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but I think Shaq does deserve a little, I guess, maybe a spanking from his mom, maybe. I got my best guys on that. I'm gonna get a report on that. I'm gonna see if Shaq if he got beaten for it by his mother, or grounded. Maybe Shaq is grounded for a couple weeks. I'm not really sure. Looking into it, but we're gonna give Shaq, on top of whatever grounding his mom wants to enforce on him, we're also gonna give him a 15-yard penalty on sportsmanlike conduct. The segment that's gonna sweep the nation on sportsmanlike conduct.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15 on sportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
There we go. There you have it. So please tweet me, email me, stories throughout the week that you think were unsportsmanlike behavior. Obviously, from my first example, they don't really have to be all that sports related. We want to call out people who are not being mature adults and people who are ripping off other mature adults. So let me know what you find. Let's move on. We're going to go NFL talk now. Couple, I guess, not signings, but like transactions, I guess you could say, around the league, or sources are saying. None of this is 100% true yet. What happens is when a team releases the player, the first week after releasing that player, they're the only team that can negotiate with that player to try to re-sign him. So when you hear like so-and-so has been released by so-and-so, well, they still technically can go back to that team. It's just saying, well, now you got a week to figure it out, and then from there the price tag is going to go up, and normally after the first week you don't see players going back to the team they were released from. So a couple big names. It's kind of sad to see some of these players who, like, when you hear their name, you immediately associate them with this team because they were there for so long. But Adrian Peterson, former running back of the Minnesota Vikings, he's been released by the Vikings. Jarrell Revis, cornerback of the New York Jets, he's been released. And Jamal Charles, arguably one of the best running backs in Chief history, even in a short career with a lot of injuries, he has also been released by the Chiefs. As far as landing spots for some of these players, hearing reports from the Adrian Peterson front that a couple of teams to keep an eye on: New York Giants, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Houston Texans. If I'm Adrian Peterson, the best fit that I see of those three is the New York Giants. And if I'm the New York Giants, I want him. As a fan, I want Adrian Peterson on my team because he is by no means the Adrian Peterson he used to be. But he can still give you can't count on him for a whole year, but when he is in there and healthy, he can give you some good minutes. The other two players, not really sure. Somebody's going to pick both those guys up and take a chance on them. Jarrell Revis just looks slow and old. Jamal Charles is hurt all the time. And the most recent news, Patriots are saying they don't want to trade quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, they're saying that, and that's from league sources, which, don't get me started on sources. That drives me nuts. Put out the names of whoever's saying this, because obviously that's a pretty strong thing to say. So if it's not true, I want to hear why it's not true. Oh, man. Yeah, the Patriots say they don't want to trade Jimmy. So that changes a lot of teams' route if that was in their horizon, maybe going after Jimmy Garoppolo. Combine starts today, NFL Combine. I don't recommend watching it, but if you do, I could think of a couple reasons why. I'll give you those here shortly. One report I've heard out of the Combine is T.J. Watt could sneak up into first round. That was a quote. T.J. Watt could sneak into first round. What does that mean? Somebody has to help me out. I don't know what that means. T.J. Watt, if you don't know, defensive end for the Wisconsin Badgers. Younger brother of star defensive player J.J. Watt of the Houston Texans. I saw T.J. in person when he came here to Purdue to face Purdue. He had a pick six and I think a forced fumble. He was impressive, and just the last name is going to help you out as far as where you go. But how's he sneaking into the first round? Is he like putting on like a disguise and getting past security? Is he going to be like in the podium that Roger Goodell stands on? How do you sneak into it? And this brings me to my next point. Mock drafts. Dumb. Mock drafts are dumb. How can a player go from, let's say, projected to be the 10th overall pick, and then 2 days later, he's at 12? So, like, let's say today, well, I'll give you an example. February 25th, there was a player that was projected to go number 4. Today, March 1st, so I'm not good at math. 3 days later? Anyways, couple days later, there we go, couple. That's what non-math people say, couple. Couple days later, he is now, instead of being number 4, they have him at 8. In those couple days, he hasn't played it down. He hasn't worked out for anybody. He hasn't done anything. How? How do you, without playing, go from 4 to 8 without doing anything? Mock drafts don't mean anything at all, and if they ever are relevant, it's right before the draft, because no owner is going to come out and say, yeah, I want him. Have you ever played poker? You don't show your hand. You might say you want somebody, so everybody thinks, oh, I got to jump on him, and then you actually get the guy you want. It's strategy. It's a competition. You don't give away who you're going for. So, I get it. They serve their purpose, I guess, mock drafts. Like, they're fun to look at and see, oh, maybe my team will get this player. That's cool, but no. Not really worth it. And that, it's a lot like bracketology, in my opinion, until like right up before the tournament, like until the conference tournaments are over, bracketology is nothing. I will say Joe Lunardi of ESPN, he gets like the teams in, he gets those right most of the time. It's very impressive how he knows who's going to make the tourney. But as far as seeds go, you don't know. You have no idea what's going to happen. But with this whole bracketology stuff, I'm hearing a lot about how the Big Ten shouldn't get any respect and how the Big Ten Conference is down this year. I don't get it. I'm biased. I'm a Big Ten biased guy, but I don't understand how you can say that we're down as a conference. Everywhere I look, 7 schools are making the tournament from the Big Ten. Everybody says 7. That's second most of any conference. If that's a down year for the Big Ten must be really, 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 really good. 7 schools. Minnesota is red hot. I don't know if they can keep it going, but at the moment, they're one of the hottest teams in the NCAA, along with Butler. Butler's playing really well. Purdue is probably going to be the highest seed of Big Ten teams unless something crazy happens. They're looking at, I'm reading everywhere from a solid 4 with a ceiling of maybe a 3 seed and a floor of maybe a 5. So between the 5 to 3 range for Purdue. I agree with that. I like that. If I'm another team, I don't want to play Michigan. When they're on shooting, they're hard to beat. They can really shoot the basketball. Wisconsin, I don't want to see them either with a player like Koenig and Happ and Nigel Hayes. Those are 3 players I don't want to see. Michigan State, who everybody says at the moment they are one of the 7 in the tournament. I don't want to ever see Tom Izzo in a tournament. Dangerous. Michigan State is dangerous in tournaments because of Tom Izzo. And when you have a freshman phenom like Miles Bridges, I don't want to see them. And then Northwestern making history unless something goes horribly wrong, which would be kind of funny, but I don't root for that. They're going to make the tournament. And that's good for that program. Well deserved. Long overdue. Glad to see it's finally going to happen. And then lastly, Maryland, a sneaky tough team, quiet team, can knock anybody off. I can't wait I think there's going to be a Big Ten team who makes a very good run in the tournament. I'm not sure who, but somebody's going to. All right. There's my little soapbox on the Big Ten. I don't know. I hear that like every day from somebody new, or read it somewhere that Big Ten's down or Big Ten's no good. I don't understand. Like, I mean, fine. Don't look at us as a conference, but I think we're going to surprise some people. So when you're filling out those brackets that are never correct and usually blown up by the end of the first round of the first half of the first day, when you're filling out that bracket, remember, Uncle Matt here, Gambling Matt, told you Big Ten might do well. NHL news, a couple big transactions, one that's close to my heart. Blackhawks signed back Johnny Oduya, and also another forward, Stan Bowman, GM of the Blackhawks, doing what he does best as a magician. He gets back a 2-time Stanley Cup champion who knows the city of Chicago, who is loved by the city of Chicago. My aunt, she texted me last night. She was a big Johnny Oduya fan, big Hawks fan in general. She said, love having Johnny back just because of his name. I agree. I love Johnny Oduya. I'm glad he's back. He's going to bring some defense, some scoring. And also they got a good sneaky forward who has a really high upside and a low floor. So didn't have to give up any top picks or prospects. Crazy how the Blackhawks do it. Really is with the salary cap in the NHL. It's amazing that they're able to pull off what they do year in and year out. Moving away from sports here for a minute. I watched the Oscars. I did. I didn't catch it all. And to be honest, I didn't know many of the movies. Maybe I'm in the minority here, but I don't think there was a great movie that came out. None of those movies were like jumped out at me like they were awesome. The only thing that I did see that won a reward was the O.J. Simpson Made in America, O.J. Made America, done by ESPN. If you haven't seen that yet, you have to see it. It's fantastic. The whole story was before my time, so it was like I was watching it for the first time ever. So maybe that gave me a little bit of a different entertainment value, or I was captivated by it. It's really, really good. So if you haven't seen O.J. Made in America, find it on your demand or your DVR, or I don't know if it's on Netflix or not, but highly recommend it. But yeah, I didn't see I went to bed before the last award and the big, oh man, live TV. Gotta love it. Especially when it comes to like something like the Oscars, which is so scripted and so fake emotion. That's the closest you're going to ever get to real live emotion at that award show, or any award show really. I mean, people were freaking out. I saw pictures of people out in the crowd, celebrities. They were like, "Whoa!" Like they didn't know what was going on. Nobody did. And I mean, you hear a lot of reports on why it happened, and I don't know what all you can believe or not believe, but I didn't watch it. But when I woke up the next morning and my phone every social media and people texting me just going crazy about it. So that was kind of fun, kind of funny. But what I know, here's something that popped out at me while I was watching the Oscars, the little bit that I did. What are great sports movies? I guess even to be more specific, like what's the next sports movie? Like what would you like to see be the next sports movie? A lot of the top sports movies of all time, about 50-50 between made up and like documentaries or based on true stories. But like what's a sports moment that's going to be a movie? Like we're due for a good sports movie. We haven't had a good sports movie. 42 was pretty good. I liked 42. The Jesse Owens track movie, I don't remember what that one was called. That was okay. But those are not great. Like those are good movies. I don't put them in the category of great. I went on Rolling Stone, who usually does a good job of doing polls on top whatever. They came out with the 30 best sports movies of all time. I'm just going to read you the top 5, starting with number 5, Caddyshack. Everybody has seen Caddyshack. That's a good movie. Raging Bull, really, really good movie. One of my favorites. The Bad News Bears, I don't really count that as really a sports. I don't know. It's a sports comedy. Maybe we're due for a sports comedy. Is that what we need? We need something. Sports comedies usually do very well. mixing comedy and sports has shown to be very beneficial. Also, number 2, you have Rocky. Yeah, everybody loves Rocky. I mean, although with Rocky, could you put your hands up like twice and block a shot? Did you have to eat every single punch thrown at you? I mean, just once would you have just blocked one? I mean, it just, and you know, every time you watch it, you're like, Rocky wins again. I wish somebody, this is probably too much, this is way too much for me to do, but like, I wish there was a way you could like, Rocky is on TV all the time. All the time. I would love to know between in the movie theaters being played and on TV, what is Rocky's overall record? Like, is he 3 million and 2,000? I don't know. I bet his record's crazy. I mean, that movie is on all the time. And the number 1, and I'm kind of confused here. I've never seen this movie. It's called Hoop Dreams, 1994 film. I'm going to have to look into that. It's called the number 1 sports movie of all time. I've never heard of it. I'm a pretty big movie guy, sports movie guy. I'm all in. A couple ones that broke the top 10. Slapshot, really good. Oh man, Friday Night Lights, okay. White Man Can't Jump, pretty good. Hoosiers, love Hoosiers. That's in my Mount Rushmore of movies. Remember the Titans doesn't crack the top 20. You know, that's one of those movies where everybody, if you are really into it, you're all in. Like, you're really into Remember the Titans. And like that's like one of your top movies. But if you're not all in, then you're kind of the complete opposite. So I guess it'd be in the good movie category, not great. I honestly think it goes by generation. Like my generation currently, I think Remember the Titans is easily top 10, and Remember the Titans didn't even make the top 30. As I'm scrolling through here, Tin Cup comes in at 29, Miracle 28. Those are 2 really good movies in my opinion. We talked last week about Greatest Game Ever Played and how I saw that for the first time. That didn't make the list, but I liked that movie a lot. Thought it was good. So I think as far as sports stories that should be made into movies next, I think eventually we're going to get a Cubs World Series movie based on the true story. Maybe you can get, I don't know, when it comes to good sports movies, you have to use the overall picture, which is the Cubs winning the World Series, and you got to find like a little story in it and watch that story through it all. I think that's how you get a good movie. So like maybe find somebody who caught a home run and like show his life story throughout, or like maybe make it based on a true story. But I think that's something you'll see in the future. I'm kind of stuck aside from that. But I had a nice email in that I want to answer that came in last week after last week's show. Came from Mike in Roanoke. Thanks, Mike, for listening in. He says, what do you think are the top 5 shows on air right now, radio or TV, for sports talk? Great question. Here's my top 5. I thought about this a lot since I saw your email. Number 1, Dan Patrick Show. No doubt about it. Dan Patrick is my personal, I don't know if I want to call him a hero, but he is who I want to craft my craft around. I want him to be my inspiration. He is my inspiration. That's the word. He's my inspiration for this business. I think he does it really, really well. Number 2, I think you have to go ESPN Highly Questionable with Dan Le Batard, Bomani Jones, and Dan's father, Poppy. Funny show. They do a good job of mixing pop culture with sports. Poppy's hilarious. It's on the mothership, which is what I take that phrase from. Well, they say it at ESPN, but Dan Patrick was one of the first ones to really use that. I like it. I'm going to stick to it because it really is the mothership of all sports shows and networks. So it is the mothership. So that's number 2. Number 3, PTI is okay. I like Wilbon. He's a Chicago guy, so I tend to go towards that. So that's not bad. Dan Le Batard has a radio show throughout the day. It's actually on right now, so don't flip over from me for these last couple minutes and go to him as I give him a free plug here. Dan Patrick's on right now too, so I guess I'm really kind of hurting my listeners here. But I guess I'd put that Dan Le Batard radio show. I think it's just called the Dan Le Batard Show. I guess I'd put that as 4. Number 5. it's hard because, ESPN, I think, is at a moment now in their lifespan, I guess, from beginning to now, where they're changing. I don't know if you noticed, but they're moving away from highlights. They're moving in the direction of just sports talk. Like, they think that at 6 a.m. when, like, everybody's on the treadmill or whatnot, or at 6 p.m. when everybody gets home from work, instead of seeing highlights, they think that their viewers want to see celebrities and hosts and experts and analysis talk and just talk about what's going on. Personally, I disagree. I think that right now, if a network would pick up a 6 a.m. and a 6 p.m., just straight highlights of games from different sports, if somebody would pick that up, they would kill. I think ratings would be off the charts because I think there's a strong following of sports fans out there who just want to see the highlights. Give me my highlights and let me move on. I don't want to listen to you talk about the Golden State Warriors for 35 minutes and then show me one NHL clip and then that's it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but honestly, it's really not that far off. It's really fairly true, and it's bad. And I think the ESPN is going in the wrong direction. But, they're the ones making the big money. They're the ones with the viewers. So maybe, what do I know, I guess, right? Maybe. Let's wrap up the poll question here as we get to the end of the show. Poll question was, would you rather win Oscar, Super Bowl MVP, Grammy, or Heisman Trophy? Super Bowl MVP runs away with it. Heisman Trophy comes in second. Send me in possible poll questions for next week. Love to hear from you. I like to go away from the boring, like, who would win this or this. Like, I like to kind of mix in sports with pop culture or other things. Love to hear what your top 5 TV shows are. Maybe there's some I haven't heard of or I should give another shot. Also, movies. If I missed out on any top movies. Talladega Nights, good movie, funny movie, good sports comedy. Make sure I'm not missing anything that everybody's going to attack me for. It's hard on the spot here. Man. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with that. Can't think of anything else. So email the show, Next PT Wins. Subscribe to our podcast. Just search Next Point Wins on either YouTube or SoundCloud. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like our SoundCloud page. And you will get the update each week as I post. To close out the show here, quick couple bullet points. Daytona 500 last week. Don't know if anybody watched it. It's one of those things, it's kind of like fantasy sports. I'm not going to talk about fantasy anything on this show very often because it seems like either people are all in or they absolutely hate it. Either you hate fantasy or you love it. There's no in between. So I don't like to cut off half of my listeners on that topic. So we're not going to talk about fantasy very often. I think Daytona and NASCAR is kind of the same thing. The following is huge and they're crazy about their sport. But if you're not crazy about it, I don't know if you care at the moment. Last but not least, MLB spring training. Here's my weekly update on the MLB spring training. Tim Tebow, and I quote, "Not going to worry about what people say." Okay, that was a headline. I read that as a headline. Not going to worry about what people say. Tim Tebow. Yeah, he's still on the Mets. Yeah, he got invited to spring training. Yeah, it's a joke. If you missed a part of the show, check out our podcast on SoundCloud under Next Point Wins. Make a difference today. Be that glue player who gets the job done, even if not recognized. I want everybody to go out, make a difference in the world. Be a difference maker today. Ash Wednesday, March 1st. We made it to another month. Go out there, get the job done. Let me paint you guys a little picture as I close out here for the day. Everybody got their mindset ready? Here we go. It's Sunday evening, and the game is tied in the driveway. Mom yells out that dinner is ready. You guys all know what that means. Next Point Wins. Have a good day.